Alright lads, we are back on the supplementary episode of why hoarding currency will let you of real wealth. Okay, so we already understood that a currency's value is based largely on scarcity and trust, and why currency can devalue when more is created. So just imagine, okay, if a central bank, imagine instead of the central bank, imagine on the perspective of 200 corporations, and one corporation, one business decided to print more or borrow more without a corresponding increase in goods and services, meaning GDP. Alright, so that happens, each unit now buy less, and now we can see why inflation is up on our ass. Okay, so what do I mean by each unit costs less? So imagine this, today you live in a small town, right, with 100 apples for sale and 100 coins in the whole town. So each apple now costs 1 coin because there are enough coins to go around in the village or in the small town. And now one day the mayor, Mr. Trump, Biden, Obama, Nixon, whoever the fuck it is who was, magically makes 100 more coins appear. So there are now 200 coins in total. But here's the problem, okay? There are still only 100 apples, but now people have more coins, so now they are willing to pay more, and someone says, I'll pay you 2 coins for the apple, and then slowly others joined in, and soon apple now costs 2 coin each. Okay, so you didn't get more apples, the coin became less special because there are more of them, and each coin now buy less than before. You will now need 2 coins to get what 1 coin used to buy. So it's the same with cash currency in life. If there's a lot more money but not a lot more stuff to buy, prices go up, and each currency or coin loses buying power. But now you will be arguing with me, then why the idea of investing in S&P or Nasdaq with unlimited cap of supply will not be devalued? So we will go over this topic on the future episodes. So let's just focus back on the topic in itself about currency. And now, do you still remember what I mentioned was, if the GDP, growth and service, couldn't catch up more things to buy, then it will turn into an inflationary situation. Well, now you have to understand, ever since 1940, let's just assume that when you play Monopoly, at the beginning of the game, there are a certain limit or a cap on the Monopoly board game in itself. But as through time, the most confusing matter and part is people do not question how much is the cap in the Monopoly board game. And just imagine, in the game in itself, the Monopoly board game in itself, there are 4 players. And just assume, if 3 players are gone, we have a winner. But in real life, if that were to happen, it's catastrophical, man. Oh my god, I can't even pronounce it right. You understand? In the game in itself, even though 3 players are out, it doesn't happen this way in real life. The game still goes on. So let's just imagine if the total board or supply today, now the total world liquidity debt are in the hands of the player, let's just say it's 300 trillion. Yeah, you heard it right, okay? 300 trillion. You never really hear anyone talk about this concept about the world debt, the world liquidity. Because if it doesn't come from a debt, how is there a existing value? When everything like credit in itself is a future money. Like I said again, no one said this before. So give me some clap, guys. So just imagine now we are at the pace of 300 trillion total global liquidity in the hands of the players, which is the governments, the corporations, the retail, in 200 corporations. And imagine the situation by next year, the next 5 years, by the next 10 years, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And at the same time, inflation has always been the story. Maybe just 10 years or 20 years ago, we didn't feel it But through the decades, by decades, you see price are always one directional upwards. Okay, yeah, there are some times of correctional phase, maybe just in the real estate, but in overall it's one directional upwards, which is the Federal Reserve printing the money. So imagine this situation were to go on in the next 10 years, 2040, 2050. Maybe at 2050 there is 1,000 trillion of total world liquidity gap. And just imagine you as the player, and imagine 3 players are out at the first round during maybe 1940s, and people go out and there's always new player coming in. And if those first player, the first 10% of the player are constantly in the game raping you, then when you are in the new game, when you get out of society, now instead of mandatory stepping on the game, you understand that you are always losing, and the people who has won the game few rounds, few decades, few centuries before are always ahead. And you would, no matter how many dice you play, you are fucked in the ass. It's just a matter of time. But that goes by in the concept of monetary, where you are mandatory to pay. But in our real life, it's not that way. It's just more products on the shelf right now to purchase, more innovation, laptop, phone, OnlyFans. There are more things to spend that you would want to, and when you couldn't spend a lot of these things that you see on social media, suddenly you feel the wealth gap. But it is true, some people can acquire more of these services or goods that made you feel inferior. But through time, it's not just that. Until this point, or the last 10 that, or this during 2010, suddenly in a digital perspective, it has went to a pace whereby it is, groceries are too a unprecedented price, which is hard to just survive these basic expenditures, which is food, water, shelter. That's why it became a very sentimental and critical argument in every corporation right now. And in 2024, which is last year, the total GDP is at 110 million. So now you get the idea on why things are no longer cheap. Maybe, okay, I'm just putting up a number, maybe in 2000, the world debt is, hold on, let me pull out a chart. Give me a moment, right? Let's just say maybe on 2000, on the year on 2000, it is the world total debt is sitting on 85 trillion. Okay, so maybe at that point it is still 85. Now it's 200 or 300 trillion. So now, in a simple math illustration, if you do not count exactly to it, it's just everything add on a simple zero. So you feel it in your ass right now. Okay, so now it begs to the question, why can't the government or the central bank or the Fed, the G5, stop printing money? Because like we have said, the money are in the hands, in the world, in the players, in the organization, in the citizens' hands. Some are spent on the roads, infrastructures. Some are spent not directly on real estate value. Some are spent on infrastructure, I repeat. So with that, some of the people also are able to acquire wealth, and some of the wealth and that disparity, it's you or on the government level, that if the Feds are the global creditor issuer, and if they do not build their ass out, their corporations, their tier 1, tier 2 bank, global liquidity banks, then it will be a problem. You guys will be sinking down like Argentina. So you get the point why the debt or the QT has to go on and on and on, continue to print, because there are no other way. If the society, everyone defaults on their loans, how is it going to move on? Just imagine United States resets. I'll be planking through that dystopia comedy, not gonna lie. But knowing this concept makes you understand that here in itself, we know that it is just gonna print, because no matter the wealth, the total world global liquidity are in the hands of the 10% of the wealthy. Their money are not going back outwards. So that's why, and if you on the bottom level, the retail level, can't survive and defaults on the loans, because everything is a MLM. Everything from you getting anything, which is the biggest thing in your life, 6 digits are usually the car and the house, and if you default, United States are done, my friend, okay? So with that knowing, the Feds are still going to continue to print. So if you are on the other hand of the other countries, the bottom 100 countries, now you understand why it is not really your country's fault. It's just the top 10 are moving way too fast, guys. And bear in mind, the people who are hoarding the wealth, not some that is spent, disappeared into infrastructures by the governments, let's just say on the corporation level, those wealthy CEOs or whoever was before had hoarded or took some pie of the world liquidity debt, then here in itself, they are not holding in cash, they are not holding in currency, my friends. They are all supplemented into and diversified into the assets. That's why you see assets are also one directional upwards trajectory. So on the next episode, we will go over what are the assets, what are the baskets that you can pinpoint and see the actual flow of liquidity going into different parts of the world, and it has now became and it's now reflected that there are market caps in the world where you can measure market caps of Bitcoin, market caps of Tesla shares, Coke shares, what else? Many other things that you can reflect, or in the oil barrel, or let's just say they were saying psychedelics, the mushroom market cap are now valued at a certain number. So now you can understand things coherently in this manner when you understand the directional flow, when the issuer, the debt, the total debt, world debt, has distributed into the society, and who has the ability to get parts of it and hoard it under their belt without going back out. So when you can understand all these things, now you see and you can paint a better picture about the economics, and more so to say holographical intuition, holographical flow of money flow within the matrix. See you on the next episode. Follow and subscribe. I know you love me.